Once upon a time, eBay was the king of online shopping, a revolutionary marketplace where anyone could auction off their old treasures to the highest bidder. From vintage collectibles to quirky oddities, eBay was the go-to platform where people could find just about anything. In the early days of the internet, it thrived, growing into a billion-dollar empire and forever changing the way we buy and sell goods online. But something happened along the way. Today, eBay is a shadow of its former self, struggling to keep up with competitors like Amazon and a wave of new, disruptive platforms. What went wrong? Why did eBay fall from grace? And could it ever regain its former glory? Let's dive deep into the fascinating rise, decline, and uncertain future of eBay. A heartwarming origin story surrounded eBay's creation, one that made the company's beginnings sound almost like a fairy tale. According to the widely circulated myth, Pierre Omidyar built the website so his wife, an avid collector of Pez dispensers, could easily trade with other enthusiasts around the world. It was a charming narrative, the kind that made eBay's founding seem personal and relatable. However, the truth was quite different. This story was entirely fabricated by eBay's marketing team, a clever piece of branding that stuck in people's minds. While the real story lacked the whimsy of the Pez dispenser tale, it was no less impressive. From an early age, Pierre Omidyar had a fascination with computers, often going to great lengths to access them. In high school, he would sneak out of his regular classes just to spend time using the school's limited computer resources, eager to experiment with programming and explore the potential of emerging technology. By 1991, his passion led him to co-found an e-commerce company called Ink Development, which focused on early online shopping innovations. However, his most ambitious ideas about digital commerce had not yet taken shape. Omidyar had a radical vision. He believed that instead of businesses simply selling products to consumers, everyday people should have the power to buy and sell directly to one another in a global, unrestricted marketplace. At the time, this idea was unconventional, even unthinkable to many, but it would eventually prove to be revolutionary. His business partners weren't convinced by his vision, so in 1995, Omidyar decided to strike out on his own. He began developing a new platform from scratch, a simple, no-frills website called AuctionWeb. The site was minimalist, mostly text-based, with no elaborate design, yet it allowed users to list items for auction with ease. To test the system, Omidyar posted a listing for a broken laser pointer, curious to see if anyone would actually bid on such an item. To his surprise, a bidding war ensued, and the seemingly useless laser pointer sold for $14.83. Skeptical, Omidyar reached out to the buyer, wanting to ensure they understood the product was broken. The response he received stunned him. The buyer wasn't just aware of the defect. They were a collector of broken laser pointers. This bizarre yet eye-opening moment was a revelation for Omidyar. If people were willing to bid on and purchase a non-functional laser pointer, the possibilities for an open, unrestricted marketplace were limitless. It was the first real proof that an online auction platform could thrive, and it set the foundation for what would soon become one of the most transformative businesses in internet history. In its early days, AuctionWeb was a completely free platform, allowing users to list and sell items without any charges. At first, this worked well since the website had a small user base, and Omidyar was running it as more of a side project than a serious business. However, as word spread and more people began using the site, traffic surged unexpectedly. The rapid increase in visitors didn't just bring more sales, it also led to a significant rise in hosting costs. Omidyar's internet service provider soon contacted him with a warning. The growing bandwidth usage was exceeding his plan's limits, and if he didn't upgrade, the site could go offline. Faced with mounting expenses, Omidyar had no choice but to find a way to keep the site running. His solution was simple but brilliant. He introduced a small fee, charging users a percentage of the final sale price on each successful transaction. Initially, it was just a way to cover costs, but it quickly became clear that this was more than just a temporary fix. This fee-based system turned out to be a genius business model, one that allowed eBay to scale without relying on ads or external funding. Sellers were happy to pay because they were making money, and buyers kept coming because the variety of items continued to grow. By 1997, AuctionWeb had become so successful that it needed a stronger, more recognizable brand name. Omidyar originally wanted to call it Echo Bay, inspired by the name of his consulting firm, Echo Bay Technology Group. However, when he tried to register the domain, he discovered that Echo Bay.com was already taken by a mining company. Rather than negotiate for the domain, he made a quick adjustment and settled on eBay instead, a name that, despite being unintentional, would soon become one of the most recognizable brands on the internet. The company's growth was staggering. In its first month under the new name, eBay generated around $1,000 in revenue. While that may have seemed modest at the time, things escalated quickly. By the end of its second year, annual revenue had exploded to $400,000. Just a year later, that number surged past $5 million. The secret behind this meteoric rise? A phenomenon known as the network effect. The more people who joined eBay, the more valuable the platform became. A growing base of buyers attracted more sellers, and as more sellers listed products, even more buyers came in search of unique items. It was a self-reinforcing cycle that turned eBay into an unstoppable force. Before long, people were selling anything and everything on the platform. Rare collectibles, electronics, clothing, and even bizarre, one-of-a-kind items. The digital marketplace had evolved into a bustling economy of its own, and there was no sign of it slowing down. In 1998, eBay took a monumental step forward. It went public. Investors were eager to get a piece of the rapidly growing online marketplace, and when eBay's stock debuted on the Nasdaq, the response was overwhelming. On its very first day of trading, the stock price surged by an astonishing 163%, instantly catapulting Pierre Omidyar into billionaire status. What had started as a small auction site run from his home had now transformed into a dominant force in e-commerce. With millions of users buying and selling daily, eBay had become an essential part of the internet's growing commercial landscape. The platform's success wasn't just about everyday transactions, it was also fueled by the sheer variety of items people were willing to sell. While rare collectibles, electronics, and household goods made up a significant portion of listings, some auctions gained worldwide attention for their sheer absurdity. Over the years, eBay became known as the go-to place for selling the most bizarre and unexpected items. A grilled cheese sandwich featuring what appeared to be the face of the Virgin Mary sold for thousands of dollars. A small town in California was auctioned off to the highest bidder. Even a lock of Britney Spears' hair found its way onto the platform, proving that almost anything could be turned into a high-stakes bidding war. At one point, the craze for Beanie Babies, the wildly popular stuffed toys of the late 1990s, became so intense that these small plush animals accounted for 10% of all eBay sales. The site had become a haven for collectors and resellers, providing a space where people could hunt for rare and valuable items that were nearly impossible to find elsewhere. eBay had struck gold by tapping into the psychology of collecting, the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of bidding, and the joy of finally securing a coveted item. As its user base continued to expand and sales skyrocketed, eBay seemed unstoppable, a company that had not only revolutionized online commerce but had also created an entirely new way for people to buy and sell. As eBay continued to grow, it didn't just rely on organic expansion. It aggressively acquired other companies to strengthen its grip on the online marketplace. One of its most game-changing moves came in 2002, when it purchased PayPal for $1.5 billion. At the time, PayPal was already becoming the preferred payment method for online transactions, and integrating it directly into eBay's platform was a strategic masterstroke. This acquisition streamlined payments, making transactions faster, more convenient, and far more secure for buyers and sellers alike. But beyond just improving the user experience, it also created a highly profitable system for eBay. Now, the company wasn't just making money from its standard listing and transaction fees, it was also earning a cut from the PayPal processing fees, essentially profiting twice from every sale. With PayPal firmly under its wing, eBay continued its acquisition spree, snapping up over 50 other businesses to expand its influence in different sectors. In 2005, it made another major move by acquiring Skype, the fast-growing voice and video communication platform. The purchase, however, proved to be a misstep, as eBay struggled to integrate Skype into its ecosystem and later sold it off at a loss. In 2007, the company made a more fitting acquisition when it bought StubHub, the popular online ticket marketplace, which helped solidify eBay's presence in event ticket resales. Despite these bold expansions, trouble was brewing beneath the surface. Competition was intensifying, customer expectations were shifting, and cracks were beginning to form in eBay's once unshakable dominance. A storm was coming, one that would ultimately knock eBay from its throne and force the company to rethink its strategy for the future. While eBay remained focused on auctions, believing that the thrill of bidding was its biggest strength, Amazon was quietly taking a different approach, one that would soon disrupt the entire e-commerce landscape. In its early days, Amazon experimented with its own auction service, called Z-Shops, hoping to compete directly with eBay. But unlike eBay, Amazon's auction format never gained traction, failing to attract enough buyers and sellers to make it a viable competitor. Instead of stubbornly pushing forward with auctions, Amazon made a radical and unexpected pivot. It decided to allow third-party sellers to list their products directly on its main retail site, alongside Amazon's own inventory. At the time, this move was highly controversial. Many industry experts believed Amazon was making a huge mistake, arguing that allowing outside sellers to compete on its own platform would cannibalize its sales. But Amazon's strategy turned out to be nothing short of genius. By encouraging competition among sellers, the platform naturally drove prices lower, which attracted more customers. And while Amazon itself might have sold fewer of its own products, it still profited from every transaction through seller fees. This model transformed Amazon from just an online bookstore into a true online marketplace, giving customers a vast selection, competitive prices, and a seamless shopping experience that eBay couldn't match. Then, Amazon escalated the competition even further. It introduced Amazon Prime, a membership program that initially offered free 2-day shipping, then later next day and even same-day delivery. This move fundamentally changed consumer expectations. Suddenly, people were no longer willing to wait days, or in some cases, weeks, for their purchases to arrive. And this was where eBay's biggest weakness became apparent. Unlike Amazon, eBay didn't own its own warehouses, manage inventory, or control shipping logistics. Instead, it relied entirely on individual sellers to handle their own packaging and shipping, which meant delivery times were wildly inconsistent. While some sellers shipped quickly, others took far longer, leading to frustration among buyers. As consumer expectations shifted toward faster, more reliable deliveries, eBay simply couldn't keep up, and shoppers started gravitating toward Amazon's superior convenience. But it wasn't just shipping speed that hurt eBay, it was customer service as well. In its early days, eBay had a hands-off approach to disputes, essentially leaving buyers and sellers to resolve issues on their own. Fraud was a growing problem, with fake listings, misleading product descriptions, and untrustworthy sellers causing frustration among users. Amazon, on the other hand, took the opposite approach. It prioritized customer satisfaction above all else, often siding with buyers in disputes to build trust and create a seamless shopping experience. This customer-first strategy earned Amazon massive loyalty, while eBay's reputation suffered under the weight of fraud cases, disputes, and inconsistent service. By the time eBay realized the true threat Amazon posed, it was already losing ground fast. The marketplace model was shifting, and eBay was struggling to keep pace with a competitor that had redefined what online shopping could be. As eBay struggled to keep pace with its competitors, it made a series of questionable business decisions that further weakened its position in the e-commerce industry. One of the biggest missteps came in 2009, when the company decided to sell off a majority stake in Skype to an investment group for $2.75 billion. At the time, eBay had struggled to integrate Skype into its marketplace, and the platform's video calling capabilities never quite fit into eBay's core business model. Letting it go seemed like a logical decision, until Microsoft swooped in just 2 years later and acquired Skype for a staggering $8.5 billion. The move highlighted eBay's lack of long-term vision, as it failed to capitalize on an asset that had immense potential outside of the auction world. Another major decision came in 2015, when eBay spun off PayPal as an independent company. At the time, this was seen as a strategic move that would allow both companies to grow separately. eBay believed it could develop new payment partnerships, while PayPal could expand beyond eBay's ecosystem. But in hindsight, the decision proved costly. PayPal flourished as an independent company, rapidly expanding its reach and becoming one of the dominant forces in digital payments. Meanwhile, eBay lost one of its most valuable assets, forcing it to rely on alternative payment solutions that never quite matched PayPal's seamless integration. Over time, PayPal's growth far outpaced eBay's, leaving the auction site struggling to find new ways to stay competitive. As eBay dealt with the consequences of these missteps, competition in e-commerce only intensified. The rise of Facebook Marketplace and apps like OfferUp made it easier than ever for people to buy and sell locally, eliminating the need for eBay in many cases. At the same time, a wave of Chinese shopping apps, such as Wish, Temu, and AliExpress, flooded the market with ultra-cheap products and aggressive discounting strategies. These platforms provided convenient, mobile-first shopping experiences with low prices, something that resonated with younger consumers, further pulling traffic away from eBay. The once undisputed leader in online auctions was now facing fierce competition from multiple angles, struggling to find a way to regain its former dominance. Despite its struggles, eBay remains a massive online marketplace, continuing to generate billions in revenue each year. It still serves millions of buyers and sellers across the world and plays a significant role in niche markets, particularly in collectibles, vintage goods, and refurbished electronics. However, it is no longer the dominant force it once was. The days when eBay was the go-to destination for online shopping have long passed, as competitors like Amazon, Facebook Marketplace, and emerging global e-commerce platforms have redefined what consumers expect from online retail. Over the years, eBay has made efforts to modernize, attempting to adapt to the changing landscape. It introduced Buy It Now, allowing customers to purchase items instantly instead of waiting for auctions to end, an effort to compete with the seamless shopping experience of Amazon. The company also refined its seller policies, improving protections for both buyers and sellers to combat fraud and create a more trustworthy marketplace. Yet, despite these updates, eBay has struggled to recapture its former glory. The e-commerce world has evolved at a rapid pace, and simply making incremental improvements hasn't been enough to keep up with the likes of Amazon's lightning-fast logistics or the ultra-competitive pricing of newer shopping apps. So, what's next for eBay? Can it reinvent itself and carve out a new identity in a world dominated by e-commerce giants? Or will it continue to fade into obscurity, gradually becoming a relic of the early internet era? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, eBay's rise and fall serves as a powerful reminder that in the world of technology, innovation never stops. No matter how big or successful a company may seem, stagnation can be fatal, and even the biggest giants can be left behind. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into eBay's story, make sure to like and subscribe for more insights into the biggest business stories of our time.